The Oregon Shakespeare Festival has always been about the past, the present, and the future. And what I love about hip-hop, what I love about Nexthetics, is it is part of what's coming next at OSF, but it connects all the way back to the Greeks and all the way forward into all that's still to come.
Yeah, the first conversation we had, first meeting we had, we talked about
You were introduced
hip-hop.
to me as somebody who was writing a book on hip-hop theater. So
Exactly.
40 hours a week just to stay broke.
That was one of many things that made me excited about working with her, because I was really interested in the intersection of classical theater and hip-hop as language-based movements, and I wanted us to be able to explore that here in Ashland.
What Shakespeare?
Hip-hop is a folk art form. I mean, it starts on the street corner, trading stories about what you're living through every day. And, Shakespeare's roots are the same.
I have no doubt that if Shakespeare were writing today, he would use hip-hop, the hip-hop idiom in his creation. There's just no doubt, because Shakespeare took language from the streets, he combined it with elevated poetry, he crammed it all together, and that's what gives his work the incredible vibrancy and energy. So I think as a Shakespeare festival, we would be crazy to ignore the artists who are exploding language in new and fresh and dynamic ways. The Oregon Shakespeare Festival audience is endlessly curious and open. So you've got young people here with school groups that you might expect to really enjoy hip-hop elements, and then you've got senior citizens and everybody in between who surprise themselves and me sometimes by how much they are into different hip-hop elements that are finding their way into our work. So I just love how it's becoming organically integrated as part of the vocabulary of how we tell stories here at OSF.
Hip-hop is really, at its most fundamental, it's about the beat. It's just a boom.
Oftentimes when you speak to a layperson and you start talking about hip-hop, they don't hear hip-hop, they hear rap music. They hear what they see on television and in commercials, and it's very exploitative, and it's a tiny portion of the community and a tiny portion of the culture.
When people think about the ghetto, they think about all the negative that happens in the ghetto, but I focus on all the positive stuff, like tap dance that came out of the ghetto, Lindy Hop, jazz music, and then I looked at hip hop and I'm like, this is a positive force, but the media is only focusing on the negative. So how can I add to the positive?
Misery, we bring hope, joy, love, and security.
Hip-hop is more than rap. It's not just music. It's the way we speak. It's visual. It's dance.
A lot of people, when they say hip-hop, especially the dance, they focus on the moves, and they don't focus on the movement of the people. So you look at the word hip, it means to know, to be in the know. Hop is a movement. So it's a movement that keeps on growing with the times, and it changes at the speed of need. So what we needed in the 70s, and the 80s, and the 90s is different from what we need now. And so many people tend to focus on a stereotype of people according to what they've been focused on in the past. And that we change all of the time. So hip hop is very clever in the way it moves and the way it adapts to whatever is happening at the moment and what's going to be needed in the future.
Oftentimes when people think hip-hop, they immediately think black. But hip-hop is a lot more than the African-American culture. Yes, it has deep roots in the Caribbean music, but also it has deep roots in salsa and Latino music, and ultimately right now it's an international music form.
The mixing and sampling of musics, of cultures, of conversations, of anything and everything. That's what hip-hop was when we were growing up. Hip-hop is where anything and everything goes.
Hip-hop is inclusive. Hip-hop can include everyone.
Because hip-hop is not really hip-hop unless it's being done together. The whole community comes together to share the skills. Each skill enhances the next one. So an MC is inspired by watching the dancing, and the dancing is inspired by the lyrics. And if a graffiti writer is in the house, he's seeing how the dancers move, and then that's how his pieces move on the train or on the wall. So each one inspires each other. And there's different disciplines in hip hop. and it helps you focus and it keeps you away from all the negative that's around you. So it's the need to create being in a negative environment, and the creativity is a positive outlet.
Well, we definitely started this work at the ground level. We did something called the Hip Hop Boot Camp. So we put together a project where we took hip hop theater experts from around the country, paired them with expert practitioners from here at the festival, and we did a little bit of everything. We read some scripts, we did some developmental work, we did a project with the community, and we found out that there was hunger and capacity and that we should continue the journey.
Yeah. We are reaching out to the many communities that we are part of in as many different ways as we can through our work with hip hop. The Green Show, open mics, poetry slams, workshops. Every year we've hosted a mixing texts convening where we've brought together hip hop practitioners and experts from across the country to work with members of our resident acting company to incubate new work.
Like lightning is electric.
You know, for the past 4 years, every year we've had wave after wave of these brilliant practitioners and theorists and experts in this field come from all over the country and come hang out in Ashland for 1 to 2 weeks and create new work and hang out with our company. It's just been beautiful.
I see New Jacks go from gold.
Rockefeller was an artist that was part of Mixing Texts last year, and then when we decided to have the players in Hamlet be a hip-hop troupe, we reached out to Rockefeller to see if she would come in and choreograph those sequences of the play. So that was an example of what was going on in Mixing Texts directly impacting the work on stage. One of the things that we are most proud of is that in this past season, our 75th anniversary season, we realized that completely organically, without forcing it, we had all 4 major elements of hip-hop reflected in different productions around the festival.
This season, 4 elements. Graffiti element, the visual element of hip-hop in American Night. We had the DJ, because Christopher Livingston actually played a DJ in Hamlet. We had all sorts of different types of breakdance. We had rapping, the language element, in our production of Hamlet, and in our production of Ruined. And it was an international element because we had a cast member who rapped in French because that's what they're listening to in the Congo.
When people who care about the Oregon Shakespeare Festival talk to me about the energy they are feeling coming from the festival these days and the energy of our 2010 season, the words that are used about the vibrancy, the energy, the spirit, I think come in part from our commitment to a hip-hop aesthetic, being part of the mix, part of the kaleidoscope of all the different artistic influences that create the work that we're doing. So I feel like there's a direct line between hip-hop and OSF's current success.
To be or not to be, that's the question. This life we lead, it can be depressing. The unpleasant segments, tough to put up with. Bad luck makes it hard to function. What then? Are we to battle these troubles with the torture of war, or do we keep it subtle when war means taking on the forces external? Either that or I can perish from internal inferno. Begin to question if it's even worth the effort. Wish I could call a medic, but can't seem to beat the head trip. This life, the prize after ending it appeals to sleep. The grief is gone for real. To be or not to be, that's the question. To breathe or stop, gone in a second. To be or not to be, that's the question. To breathe or stop, gone in a second. What a thought to get lost in a cloud of white noise. Sweet oblivion, giving into the void. Not a complication, but a consummation. It's the siren call, final destination. To die, to sleep, to dream. Aye, there's the rub, cause what's it all mean? It's these things lingering on the tip of my cerebrum. What dreams may come, angels or demons? To be or not to be, that's the question. To breathe or stop, gone in a second. To be or not to be, that's the question. To breathe or stop, gone in a second. As humans, we're stuck knee deep in this dilemma. From the grave to the placenta, PhD to dementia. The calamity of handling the garbage, the hardships. Who wouldn't want to end it before it had started? Who will bear the whips and the scorns of time? The oppressor's wrong, the proud man always being right. The sad melody of false hope. When we cling to a love we just can't let go. Cope with the strain of the law's delay. A common story, trapped in bureaucracy. Also have to deal with the stuck up, the injustice.